and welcome back to Quick Impressions. BAKERU is a Japan-inspired action-adventure platformer from Good Feel Company Limited. It's also something of a spiritual successor to the old Mystical Ninja Goemon games, sharing some developers and team members. As somebody who rented Mystical Ninja starring Goemon for the Nintendo 64 constantly as a kid, that connection was probably the biggest reason I was so excited to play it. And honestly, that might have ended up being part of the problem. It's hard for me to completely separate BAKERU from those expectations. The game borrows a lot from Japanese culture, folklore, and not to mention the visual style that made Goemon memorable, but the actual experience feels very different. Where those older games had towns to wander through, strange characters to meet, and a sense of adventure and discovery, BAKERU is extremely linear. You pick a stage from a map, clear it, move to the next one, and repeat. The game mixes together a lot of different ideas. Most of the time you're running through levels fighting enemies with a drum-based combat system that uses separate left and right attacks alongside combo strings. There are also platforming sections, mech battles, racing sequences, and even a few flying stages that reminded me a little of Star Fox. On paper that sounds like a pretty varied package. The problem is that very little of it ever felt particularly engaging to me. Most stages follow the same basic structure. You move through the level, find 3 glowing lanterns, and destroy them to break the barrier protecting a drum tower at the end. The combat is decent enough, and I genuinely liked a lot of the enemy designs. The lantern creatures were especially charming to me, but after a while the levels started to blur together. The game introduces transformation abilities like shrinking, turning into a powerful sumo wrestler, using a yo-yo-like fishing line attack, or getting some laser guns, but they rarely change things in a meaningful way. What surprised me most was how little charm the game had compared to what I was expecting. There aren't many actual cutscenes. Most story moments are delivered through static character portraits and dialogue boxes. The humor never really landed for me, and I found myself missing the personality that made the Goemon game so memorable. Even the music felt oddly forgettable. That's another area where the comparisons kept creeping into my mind, because the Goemon game I played and loved as a kid had so many tracks that stuck with me years later. Very little in BAKERU left that kind of impression. I went into this one genuinely excited, and with pretty high expectations. It's colorful, vibrant, and clearly made with affection for Japanese culture, but the gameplay felt hollow and repetitive, and the game stretched itself much longer than it needs to. I ended up dropping it a little over halfway through and almost 7 hours in, which isn't something I expected when I first started. I can see why some people would enjoy it, especially if you're looking for a lighthearted action platformer, but for me, BAKERU never managed to become more than a reminder of a game I loved a lot more. I just wanted to take a minute at the end here to go a little off script and tell a little story. One of the many times I rented Mystical Ninja starring Goemon for the N64 as a kid, which I rented it a bunch. One of those times my great-grandma, my grandmother's mother, who was very sick at the time, I remember she was staying with us at our house, and she was watching me, I believe, because I don't think anyone else was home. And I just remember playing through the game, and I don't even remember how I got this far because I wasn't good at games as a kid, but I remember getting to this section where you get into your big smiley face robot mech and you go against like a sumo mech, like a sumo fighter mech. It's such a vague memory, but I just remember sitting there playing the game, you know, being entranced by this such a crazy scenario in this vibrant, charming game. And then my great-grandmother, or as I called her, my avó, who was Portuguese and to my memory didn't speak much, if any, English, just sitting there watching me play this game, play this wild thing. And I'm sure she didn't know what was going on. I remember she had an oxygen tank, she had the little things in her nose. And I don't know, that's even as far away as I've gotten from Goemon, that Goemon N64 game, that memory always comes back. Like every now and then, it's just something I remember. It's like something that's implanted, you know, with all the other memories that go into the garbage bin, never to be seen again, or you know, filed away later for very specific moments. That one is something I remember so weirdly and so specifically, and I think it's one of the many reasons that I love that game so much, because that game really did leave an impression on me with like how fun it was, how vibrant and colorful and charming it was, how strange it was. It's just a game that I remember liking and playing a lot as a kid. And you know, that's just a little story. I won't do the usual outro. Check out my Twitch, check out my music, all that. I appreciate you checking out the video. Kept you here long enough. Have a good one, and I will see you next time.